Breaking it down in layman's terms today, I've got a special guest. I've got a guest of a product that I use, Covideo. I've got the marketing director from Covideo, Margaret Henney. Now, she's got a dynamic background in sales, marketing, and really knows personalized video messaging. We're going to talk about video, of course, and business sales and whatever is scripted or unscripted. In fact, she's got a podcast about that. Margaret, what it do from Indianapolis, Indiana?
Doug, what's going on, man? It's good to see you.
Back at you. Now, we had a chance to finally connect visually through a Zoom call about, I would say, maybe 2 months ago.
About 2 months ago. That's right. Yep.
And I've been following you on LinkedIn for a while. LinkedIn is the jam. We've got a lot of mutual connections.
You on LinkedIn too. I love all your videos you post on there. Way to go, man.
Well, I appreciate that. And I've been using the tool with Covideo, but I want to jump it off right now. I do what's called social watching. Anytime I interview somebody, I like to watch their video content. I like to see their mannerisms, how they speak. Well, you've got a podcast called Sales Unscripted with Brian Needle, who I'm connected to as well from Blind Zebra. Talk about the inception of that show, will you?
Oh my gosh. It is, first of all, it's one of my most favorite projects I've ever worked on. I just have an absolute blast with it. So Brian Neal, like you said, AKA the Blind Zebra, he's a sales coach that's based here in Indianapolis, where Covideo is based as well. We got connected to him actually because he does the coaching, the sales coaching with the Covideo team. And we just totally hit it off. I was back in sales and I learned so much from him. And then eventually when I moved from sales to marketing at Covideo, we reconnected. We did a webinar together and people were great. They were so responsive and said, you guys have such a good dynamic back and forth. You should really do a podcast. And that's what the antithesis was. We listened to the people and we went for it.
You went for it. You've got 13 episodes that I see on YouTube. Right. You've probably got more recorded, but 13 and counting. And I've enjoyed it. And I've enjoyed connecting, following your background stories. But you said two things that really jumped out in business and video. You two got the chemistry together. I mean, you got, millennial, Generation Xer,
yep,
referee official. See, I've watched the shows.
I love it.
And it's a lot of fun. So it comes off very natural. And speaking of natural, doing video, let's talk a little bit about the natural ability of just being personal, keeping it real, keeping it 100 with me.
Keep it 100. I love it. I love it because you believe in it and you practice what you preach. And I believe in doing exactly the same thing. So trust me, if you connect with me on LinkedIn, you better believe you're getting a personalized video. I think we did the same thing actually, Doug, when we connected on LinkedIn as well. So it's just a way for people to, humanize business interactions in general, whether that's just saying, hey, how are you? Let's connect. Or, hey, maybe we should have a conversation with one another, because so much has been this, kind of robotic back and forth of email. And, obviously email has completely changed how people do business over the last, 30, 40 years, whatever that's been. But to connect a face with a name and know there's a real person on the other end, there's really no substitute for that, Doug. But it gives people a way to scale that and do it when you cannot be in person with them, right? Things have become so much more small in terms of how we do business and in terms of how small the world is. We're working with people across the world, across the country, but we can't be in person with them. And, we lose some of the stuff in the interactions there. I'm a Midwest gal. I like to do stuff kind of old school, I like to shake hands and say, hey, how you doing? And video gives me the ability to do that. In fact, I just had a really fun conversation with this guy, Jeff McWilliams. Shout out to Jeff. And he said he described Covideo as email with a pulse. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. That's so fun. So that's how I'm talking about it now.
Well, I love it. Email with a pulse. And you talked about, video, you hear that phrase, it's the next best thing to be in there because, a couple of years ago, we were smack dab in this pandemic, but Covideo's been around for a while. I've tested, I use the tool, and a lot of great attributes that I love about it. But it's just being engaged and being there. But now I think we're at a point now where it's a level of personalization. I think that's really what I want to hone in on, picking up on different things. If you notice in the background, Margaret's got a blurred background, and I love it, but it makes her stand out. I'm going with
my bar back here. I didn't know if anyone should be able to see my bar.
Yeah, pull up a glass and have a drink. But it's just a way to be engaging. But it's got the dynamic smile, something that I need to work on. always, address the camera with a smile. So I had to throw a prop in there. But I get it. Now with Covideo, I use it for, outreach and personalized video messaging. But you have a ton of industries that you sell into where you've made your mark, whether it's dealerships, healthcare, college recruiting. I really want to talk about that. But can you just kind of give me like a 30-second, 40-second spotlight of the industries that Covideo works for? Because it's just more than simple sales messaging.
Totally. It's crazy because it really runs the gamut. Really anyone who has a customer facing role. So it might be sales, it might be account management, it might be CS or client success. I mean, it really kind of runs in a huge wide range of people that are using it and find value. But some of the industries, automotive is one of our flagship industries, and that's been around for a while. We've been around since 2004. So dealerships have actually been using it since then. But like you said, higher education, people in recruiting, that's been absolutely huge. Real estate, mortgage, sales of any kind. I mean, it's really all over the board. And for me, that's what keeps my job so fresh and interesting, because in addition to being the director of marketing, I'm also a video strategist, which means I sit down with people and say, hey, what's going on in your business right now? Like, what's working, what's not working? And then we put our heads together and see where video might be useful for them. And it's really, I have to say, if this is, if you have one takeaway from this besides using video, if you're not already, that's takeaway number one. But number two is developing a written strategy where you're like, hey, I'm going to use video. When X happens, then I send a video. Or when Y, then I send a video, because that helps you get in those really good habits. And then there's not too much guesswork involved.
I love that, getting your reps in, but guesswork. But you go back to the think tank. What's emerging? You named a bunch of industries that Covideo used that leverages video messaging for. At the end of the day, the end game is to get those messages, to get communication, to close more deals or serve people. The college recruiting, I'm intrigued about that, because students, they're out there recruiting. It's sales, your marketing. Can you talk a little bit more about that industry? A little bit more.
Totally. Well, I mean, gosh, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that higher education is an industry that's really been struggling, just in terms of like, hey, it's a lot of money that you're spending. They want to make sure that students or prospective students are still seeing the value in that. And it's a huge decision. It is a massive financial commitment and time commitment, so they want to know that they are choosing the right school. And the people who are in the admissions departments there, man, they just have such a heart for students and making sure that they are making the right choice and getting them in the right spot. So there's such fantastic guides, and it just gives them another great tool when they can say, hey, I'm on your team. I'm your go-to person here at Butler University. I always use Butler because that's where I went to school.
Yeah,
so
go Bulldogs, right?
Go Bulldogs. That's right, baby. And just knowing there's someone in your corner there, because it's also a really overwhelming process when you're trying to select a school. So letting them know that there's someone there who cares, who can answer all of your questions, and especially give you that special attention. A lot of times students, that's what they're looking for is, hey, am I going to show up and is somebody going to know my name and care about me and care about me graduating and succeeding afterwards? So that's usually part of their message. And I say, you got to let them know that you are practicing that from your very first interaction with them. And video does that.
It's that visual social proof, but better yet, it's engagement. We talked about, when you think about video messaging, you think about maybe sales and prospecting, but I love the recruiting dynamic. I love the dealership dynamic, but I think there's an area that we kind of miss out on. And you've talked about it in your podcast. I call it working with your established customers, leveraging video for the follow-up or mastering the upsell, which is a book I'm reading right now from Victor Antonio.
Who's it by?
Victor Antonio. In fact, I'm interviewing him after you today, but
oh, nice.
And it's working with existing customers. But one thing that you said in the podcast that I took away from, and I think I've covered everything in video, but we keep learning and learning. That's makes it fun, right? And you talked about the impromptu video. And you're like in your car, hey, I was just thinking about you. I drove by somebody and but you did it. And what I walked away from that was two things. It was unscripted, okay, but it was impromptu, but it was personalized. If you put a lot of work in your office and stuff, that kind of kills the impromptu. I want to be scripted. I want to be professional, but I love that. Just speak speak on that a little bit more, to knowing your audience at the
Totally.
right time.
So that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, Doug. So one of the things that I encourage people to think about it, because I totally understand if you haven't done video before, people can feel a little bit intimidated by that. How do I be unscripted, but also, have an effective message? So I encourage people to think about it like a video voicemail. So the same way when you call someone and you don't know if you're going to get them on the phone or not, likely these days, probably no. So you have in your head an idea about the message that you're going to leave for them. Do the exact same thing for video without writing out a big long script, because you want to be conversational. You want to be personal. And you can do that a lot better. And if you're not trying to memorize a script. So being genuine, people can tell when you are being genuine. You can sniff it out really quick if you're not. So that is one of the most important things. And also, I just tell people you don't have to be perfect. If I can tell you one thing that I have learned over my 6 years at Covideo, it's that there is nothing relatable about perfectionism. So if you pull up that camera in your car and you do a quick video for someone and say, hey, I was just thinking about you because I drove by this or heard this song or whatever, wanted to see how you're doing and what's going on with you. You can stumble over your words. You can have a dog barking in the background. You can have horns honking, whatever. That's no big deal. That's life. And I think that especially over COVID, people have come to accept that and embrace it as a way to connect with people on a real level.
I agree 100% on that. Being able to have that connection, that personalization.
Yeah.
You have to be able to read your audience and know your audience. So there's a couple other things, because different style videos that I do, if I'm talking and I have to wear a suit because my client's wearing a suit, that's a different vibe as opposed to, but that we can talk about background stuff. Right now, you've got a cool background we talked about earlier in our chat here with the blurred background, but it highlights you. I've got the funky studio, what I'm rocking with in layman's terms. But there's different types of, backgrounds. You get this question asked: green screen, no screen. My advice, and I'm gonna answer my question. I love you expound it. I think it really just depends. But what I don't want to see is a customized. I don't want to see the Golden Gate Bridge out of Zoom.
Oh my
I don't
God,
want to see outer space. So comment on go green, not green.
I say no green. I'm a no green screen kind of gal. And that's mostly because, again, I always like to practice what I preach. The most I will do is blur my background. And that's just because, I'm at home and, hey, whatever, I got dirty laundry behind me, if I'm being perfectly honest. But, so I want to have I don't want people to be concerned with what's behind me. Have a cool background. That's great. But I want to be the focus and what the conversation is, what I'm saying to them. But, having like a green screen behind you, you might feel like it looks cool, but it just kind of gives off a little bit more of like a fake vibe when you really just need to be yourself. And honestly, some of the most successful videos I've ever done, Doug, this is funny. When I was doing sales for Covideo and I was in the office, so this was pre-pandemic, so we were always in the office. We've got a couple dogs that are in the office. So Emma and Lucy are our constant office dogs. We've got others who come and go as well. The best, most successful videos I think I ever sent were ones where Lucy or Emma would walk behind me and I would just kind of keep going, or they would want me to pet them or whatever. I would just keep going with the message. Hey, sorry, Emma wanted to say hi and get some pets here. People loved those videos. They almost always responded to them. They were like, that's so cute. Who's your dog? It was just a great point of entry where I could get my foot in the door and start a conversation that doesn't even have to be about business. Eventually it can go that way, but connecting with people as people, that's the best.
I just expound on it. What I love about this scenario with the dogs, Emma and the dogs walking by, is that it's a pattern interrupt, not strategic, not scripted. It's unscripted, but it's a conversation start. Real recognizes real. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'll go green screen if I'm putting a company logo and I'm trying to make a branding thing, because I've got both sides of that. But I love the genuine things. And speaking of green screen, I've got to do an ad spot right now. We're going to bring out Vonda, virtual Vonda, actually twice. She's going to have a question for you later on. But this is just what I call, let's just call it what it is. Keep it 100. It's just a 15-second ad spot, and we'll be right back. And we'll keep it going here with the the rock star from Covideo, Margaret. But here's Vonda.
Thanks, Doug. We are living in a virtual business world. Virtual selling and video marketing are on the rise. Communicating socially online is fine, but there might be an opportunity to collaborate further. By building on your social proof visually. In layman's terms, creating visual story selling content. Thanks again for connecting and social watching. Vonda V is out. Good day now.
Thank you, Vonda, for the ad spot. And I agree with what she's saying. We're living in this virtual world and having that visual social proof. And that's something that a tool like Covideo really helps out with. And, I love using the tool for the ease of use, the interface. And, it's more than just the video, it's the message. And I think what I've learned about, you've got the analytics tools, you've got the captions, you've got the funky, the eye-catching, or it could be funky, thumbnail, whatever case you've got. There's a lot of extra metrics around the message and the context and that. And I think you guys are innovators with that. And you've been doing it for a while. Let's talk a little bit about maybe some of the tools and, kind of give me an overview of that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't want to, get into the weeds with all the bells and whistles and features, and there's plenty of them. So it's fun to take a look at. In fact, so I'll do my own I'll take a hint from Vonda here and say, check out covideo.com. We've got a 7-day free trial so you can play around with all that. But I would say what is really cool and helpful to people is all of the analytics that are behind your video watching. So, right now, yeah, you can see if somebody opens a regular email. It's different with Covideo because you can see not only did they open your email, did they click on your video, how much of that video did they watch? Did they watch parts multiple times? Did they rewind that? You can add calls to action because, you're always trying to move the ball forward there, right? That's part of the deal with sales. So did you include a call to action and did they click on that? So insights are so helpful because, knowing who your most qualified and engaged leads are is part of the game. You can see that really clearly and easily and prioritize those people and make sure that you're following up with them first and foremost.
I love it. Having the metrics, having the analytics, because at the end of the day, you want the message to be seen.
Yeah.
But the end result is you want to have that communication. Why I love Covideo is from the standpoint, ease of use. I like the call to actions and landing pages. So, and let me just, here's my spot for Covideo. Okay. I like the ease of use, the functionality, the customer support. Okay. That's all given, but having those landing pages, a call to action. So I have a video that shows up in email or in text, and we'll get into mobile in a second. I like that easeability. In fact, I use it on my phone and I send the link and people say, well, where did you get all those links and all those pictures? But I'm using a tool called Covideo. So like Margaret said, not to make this a total ad campaign, reach out. You'll talk to a sales rep like Dustin or do the free trial. You've got people in place. Yeah, Dustin's a rock star.
Yeah, totally. Well, it thinks about sales holistically, right? Because, I'll be the first to say that Covideo, it's not the only thing that you're going to be doing. You're still sending regular plain text emails as well. You're still making phone calls, setting meetings, all that. You know what I mean? The hard truth is there's no silver bullet when it comes to sales. It's doing all of these things together and having a comprehensive plan in place. But it's certainly one of those incredibly effective tools in your tool belt that helps set yourself apart. And actually, I want to speak to something Vonda said. She mentioned storytelling. And that is I was like, bing, 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 bing. Yep. The best salespeople are storytellers because facts tell, but stories sell. And I believe that so much. Telling a story, your story, because ultimately your customers, they buy from you. They want to buy from people.